Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your Full Tilt podcast. This is Tech Industry Leadership Talks, and I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host. We have with us an incredible guest, Andreas Ploier. He is the CEO of Drone Rescue Systems, and he's coming to us live from Austria. And I'm so excited to talk to him about his personal and business journey. So let's get to it. Andreas, welcome.
Thank you very much. Really excited to be here.
So everybody out there, just remember this is live. So we love when you send us positive encouragement, tell us where you're from, say hello, all of that. So thank you all for being out there. And what we're talking about today is the theme that Andre has picked, leading an international cutting edge hardware startup. And, all of these things, I love going back, Andreas, to childhood because, as we talked about before we got on the show, you have created this company and you basically have created the culture of your company. And your background informs that. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and your upbringing.
I was very fortunate because I was coming from a very loving family, a very highly academic family. So that was really beneficial to me because my parents did everything for their three children. I'm the youngest, and that was really very important because whatever they have done in their life, they did it for us. And that really helped me amazingly through life, through good times, through bad times, because not just that I still can talk to my parents if there's something personal or business side going on, but it really provides you with the confidence of maybe even to fail if you know that you have the loving support. So that was very beneficial to me.
I know we're going to talk about your family later, Andres, but I have three kids as well. I have three kids, just as you were one of three. And it's when you said, you were the youngest, I think like by the first one, you're almost bubble wrapping them, right?
Yeah.
By the second one, you're like, yeah. And by the third one, you're like, oh, here's scissors, go play. Like, so I imagine by the time you came around, Andreas, your parents were a little bit more kind of, what shall I say, forgiving or, like not as uptight about everything you're doing. And I know we talked about the impact that your father had on you in particular, how he was such a great role model for you. And I think we have a picture that kind of gives a little bit of an insight into this. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, basically I was always imitating my father. He was always working very hard, and for me it was like I used these big earplugs that basically just protect my shoulders, not my ear, to listen to music. I played working all the time, so it was always good to even back then maybe have to have a specific schedule each day and to really start focusing on specific things. And as I already told you, my both my parents, they always said they don't have stocks, they have children, and everything they have, they put into their children, and we are their biggest stock option they have, basically. And that's what this picture tells you. So to always have a role model that I really love to follow in these footsteps.
I love that. First of all, completely adorable. You in front of the
Embarrassing, yeah.
typewriter. And you talked about your parents being academics, but let's talk for a second about your where you grew up. Now, how do you say it? It's Graz? Graz? Did I say that correctly?
Graz, yeah. Graz is the
Graz?
second biggest, yeah, it's the second biggest town in Austria, which doesn't mean a lot from American perspective with around about 300,000 people. But it's a university city, it's a very technical city, and it's really good to maybe start a business or to have a good upbringing because the city is safe, and you have beautiful nature around. Within 3 hours, you're at the sea in Croatia, so it's a really good spot to do basically everything. Doesn't matter if you have big ambitions or small ambitions, but it's a good city to bring up your child.
Well, and I recall that you'd mentioned there's a lot of high tech companies in
Yeah,
Graz as well. And
yeah.
I imagine as you kind of looked around, that was something maybe that made an impression upon you. You know, so besides the, the formative people in your childhood, and I know you highlighted your parents, which I think is so cool because like you, I have amazing parents, so blessed. Sometimes events impact us as we grow up and leave a very lasting impression. Did you have anything like that in your childhood?
Yeah, for sure. I had the fortune, unfortunate at the same time that has right early from my upbringing had some health issues. So that's why I was at the beginning maybe a little bit more protected by my parents,
Ah,
and maybe in a safe bubble was built around me. And the good thing is, and that's why as I'm saying I was fortunate to have this because it made me much stronger. Because at the beginning, due to that, I wasn't too self-confident. But then I had some health issues again when I was around about 14, 15, 16, where we even had to leave the school for a year.
oh wow.
Um, and but it was good because then, before I started to get back to school, I met a mentor. A good friend of my father, and I started working at his construction site. He very quite rich man, and he was buying a house. He's like, hey, you know what? Work in the summer there, and he was a tough guy. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was coming out from the bubble. He was like, I don't care how you feel. I don't care if you have health issues or if you're tired. I gave you a job, do it. I don't even care how you do it. Just do it and find a way. Be creative. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me self-confident, made me believe that I can do things and be creative to find a solution, and that I don't need the protection. So basically, from this age on, I start to really focus on try to be independent and work on my goals.
Well, that's incredible. So here's yet another person that that really influenced your life at a young age. Sometimes we all do need a little bit of tough love, right? And
Yeah.
what I really appreciate about your story, Andreas, and your life is that, you had these challenges, and as you reflect on them, you don't just see kind of a gray cloud, you see this silver lining. You can appreciate how that time. I can't I imagine leaving school at the ages you mentioned would be very difficult for a young person, to be away from their peers and kind of the normal path that people are taking, but then to have this opportunity to work with this gentleman and be challenged, probably, like, even if you were 100% healthy, working at a construction site, that is just rigorous, right? That's hard work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to not even be like 100% and have someone say, doesn't matter, like, you can do this, and then you taking that on board and believing that all throughout your life thereafter, that's huge. I love that. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. I just remember when I was in law school, actually, and I got mononucleosis, right? It's
Yeah.
that virus that makes you exhausted. And I literally spent an entire summer between my first and second year law school, like, in the dark, like, in bed.
Oh
And
wow.
I just couldn't even move. And I just remember the minute I had my energy back, I was like, that's it. The sky's the limit. Like, get out of my way.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
because you just, once you have even something, maybe as benign, even as what I just mentioned, like mono, uh, but it impacts you where it limits what you can do and impact and infects your life. You realize you do appreciate the little things and realize that, not everything is guaranteed. Life is not guaranteed, right? So, like, just carpe diem. That's my motto. I would actually,
Exactly.
I'm going off script for a second. What do you have a motto? Like a motto that you live by?
Um, I would say there's no such things as giving up. If you think about giving up, try it again one more time, one more day, one more project, whatever it is. Basically, it's not to give up. So in general, I'm very optimistic. But of course, there are some days, some hurdles, sometimes where I think like, is it really possible to do that or to overcome it? But this attitude really helps me to say, you know what? I tried one more time, and normally that's the time when you get it done.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it kind of translates, I feel like, from the resilience that you have from the experiences that you had.
Yeah.
So I think that's super cool. Let's talk a little bit more about your education. Like we mentioned school and, kind of you having to divert for a little bit, as a younger adult, during your childhood, some health issues. You obviously got back like you said, never quit, got back into the classroom. I mean, heck, you were typing at the age of 3, apparently. So, what did you study like when you went into university?
Yeah, same as you, law and business administration as well. Because I always wanted to, and that was coming back from a mentor. Basically, I was always focusing on trying to build up my own company. Back then, I thought more about going into consultancy in general, but I was never the one who said, okay, I want to become a lawyer. I always thought about, okay, if I'm a businessman and I'm aware of the law as well, that helps me. It helps me save money. It helps me do better, make better decisions. And after that, during my time, I did an MSc for digital business as well at the English University to have a better overview, not just from the business side or law side, but from a more technical side as well.
Awesome. And by the way, Andreas, you've got some great folks in the chat. Olga is out there saying good morning, and April's telling us
Hello.
it's been a while since she could catch the live stream. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate that and appreciate you taking the time to listen to Andreas and his journey, really. And just for the record, everybody, like I purposely do not pick guests that like have a legal background. Like we had Jennifer Richter on here, a partner at Aiken Gump previously. That was an amazing show. But I had no idea really until Andreas and I connected more to prepare for this show that he had studied the law. And I'll tell you what, I appreciate what you're saying because when I went into law school, it wasn't like, hey, I want to be a lawyer. I was one of those nerds that actually just liked learning. And, the law was such a great, for me, extension for what I studied undergraduate, which was history and philosophy. You think of
Oh, okay.
jurisprudence, that is the combination of both.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. And, I really feel like you were smart to do that and combine it with business because legal studies, I think, give you a way of thinking critically that perhaps other disciplines may not, because it's just a whole different, right? It's a whole different way of thinking sometimes. And also having to see the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know about in Europe, Andreas, but I feel like in America, that's not something people are very good at. Is like having the ability to step back from their own position,
Yeah.
and listen to what the other person is saying and then kind of glean like what is their interest, like what do they care about, what are they trying to say, and to see if there's common ground. So I feel like that's a great thing that you did there, focusing on that. Looking back then, is there advice that you would give to this theme here is leading a cutting edge startup, in hardware. We're going to talk about your company here more in a second, but you did that ultimately. Is there any lesson learned about education that you'd like to share with entrepreneurs, people starting up businesses, or just people in general that you learned along the way?
Basically, something that I understood a little bit later than I wanted to have it understand, but to really use the time because it's never easier than during the time at university or sooner at school to use the time and to learn things. Now, for example, my wife is half Moroccan. Since years, I'm saying, okay, I'll learn French and I will speak French properly because it's very important for me because she's speaking French with my daughter. And now I know some words. I speak some kind of sentences with my daughter as well in French, but I can't speak French properly, of course. If I had learned it back in school, it would have been in no time, basically, and that's a big difference. And what I now do, for example, I have a longer view. Each single day, I really try to learn something new. And basically, the best present that I did to myself was buying myself a Kindle because it allowed me to read in the dark. When I bring my daughter to sleep, I can read in the dark at the same time. So that basically is the best present I've done to myself. And so really use the time and enjoy that you can learn, but of course enjoy your time as well as a student. But still now it's very important for me to constantly read more books, get better, hear interesting podcasts as well. YouTube is a very, very good channel for that. So really use it.
Yeah, you hit on a couple things that I want to go back to. One is this idea you kind of use your time well at university. And, I'll tell you, if there are young people listening out there, you really, or you know what, you don't even have to be young. You could be young and old because you can go to university at any point in your life. What I would say about that is if you're taking the time to do it, like Andreas said, like embrace it, like learn about the world, learn about yourself, like what your interests are, and just jump into things that like maybe you never thought about before. Challenge yourself. And that's frankly why I wound up taking philosophy, just because I didn't know a lot about it. And I just wound up becoming just a complete lover of, Aristotle and, Socrates and, all the philosophers along the way, and to see how they informed, especially in the United States, our Constitution.
Yeah.
It all just kind of dovetails, and there's so much history there. But the second thing you said that I want to ping on is this idea of lifelong learning. And I think we have a really cool picture of you, Andreas, hiking, because, learning isn't just in the classroom, right? I mean, at university, outside of university, I think, as you said, you kind of learn from everyone. And tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about this shot. You chose to send us this picture because, with regard to lifelong learning, tell me how that plays into this.
Yeah, I chose a picture because you don't see my face. That's a bonus. But basically, it's
Not true, not
but
true.
basically it's one of my trips with my wife in Asia. Just to get to know different kind of cultures. It's so beneficial to learn different kind of views, see how things are working around the world, and to relax as well. So it's really beneficial to step aside, and have a look at what is important. Try to charge your batteries again. And this is, I think, in Sri Lanka with my wife together. Back then, not even fiance. So it was very interesting. And one of our biggest common hobbies is to travel around the world, and that is really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a beautiful picture. And I'm just curious, you've got your sneakers like on your back, like what were on your feet? You're hiking.
Um, a little bit heavier shoes as well, so that were maybe not really required for this trip, but
Got it. Too
yeah.
funny. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to talk about balance in life a little bit later. I mean, you started talking about that, kind of going out, seeing other things, immersing in culture, taking a break, recharging batteries. We're going to get back to that. I want to talk about your early career. So you go to university, you study business, you kind of study advanced degree in business. You're studying law, undergraduate as well. And then you, like so many of us, right? You graduate and it's like, now what? What did you do when you graduated with those degrees?
Um, I started in sales and business consulting. I really loved it in sales because in sales you learn so many different kind of things. A good salesperson is prepared. A good salesperson is strategic. A good salesperson is honest. And later I worked in the business consultancy as well. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I never felt too confident to say to a successful 50-year-old CEO how to run the business properly when you're half of his age. So always found myself a little bit in an awkward position back then, but I think at least I tried to do a good job back then. But I always wanted to start my own company, so that was always very important to me. I always knew that I wanted to do that, and then after a couple of years of working, I had the fortunate situation that my now business partner of Drone Rescue System was already working on this project, and he basically said, I don't know if I really can do it. It's really difficult. Can you help me out? I said, you know what? No problem. I can do it. And I met him there the first time because his girlfriend and my wife are really good friends. And his girlfriend had said, you know what? Talk to Andreas. Maybe he can help you. And during that time, just with helping with the first kind of business models and or writing a proposal for funding, it hit me. So I was like, okay, I really want to do that. Let's do it together. And from there, we skipped everything else and just focused on developing this company.
Well, we're obviously going to dig more into that, but I love this picture of you. I mean, you look like a young Elvis here. Honestly, I know that sounds really nerdy, but I know you're not up there singing Viva Las Vegas. But we did, by the way, fun fact, we did meet for in person for the first time in Las Vegas in September at the Commercial UAV Expo. But this seems to be you on the stage during your sales career. And, I'll tell you what. That legal training, as you said, in the business training, it translates very well to sales. Because when you think about, especially like a courtroom lawyer, what are you doing? You're selling, right, a position. You're translating a lot of different facts, possibly very complex technical information, down to a layman's level, so that they can not only understand, but then kind of appreciate what you're saying, and you can win them over to your side. So I get that. People, like, when I left, I'm still a licensed attorney, but I don't practice law. And people like, what do you do now? And I'm like, hey, it's like what I've always done, honestly. I've been advocating for commanders and other people my whole life. Now I'm advocating for the industry. And it's just so fun because I get to interview people like you, Andreas. So really appreciate that. So let's talk about your company, because that was kind of a big step, right? So you had a salary, presumably. You're making commissions probably on top of that as the salesperson early in your career. You meet your now partner through basically your wife and her friend, and you hear about this drone rescue systems project and said, like, sign me up. So first of all, tell us about the company, and what about the early kind of prospects or the project itself intrigued you to say, I'm going to leave this comfortable position I'm in, and I'm going to jump over here and go for it?
I think you need to be maybe a little bit crazy to do things like that, but it has to be inside of you. I always knew that I'm not the best employee. I'm someone who works really hard, but I'm quite honest and straightforward as well. And maybe that would have been a problem at some stage. But for me, it was really the excitement of building the thing up, to go through to maybe really work in a startup that's ahead of its time. We knew when we started Drone Rescue Systems, the next couple of years, people will say, drones, first of all, what is this? And those people that are already in drone industry, they would say parachutes. I don't really know what they are, what's the benefit of it. So it was very interesting to work through those hurdles. And when we look back, Marcus and I laughed about it a couple of months ago. We found our first project plan when we started out together. We're like, okay, in 6 months we will do this. In 9 months we will be doing this, and the revenue will be this. And now the typical hockey stick of how the company will be going on forward.
Right.
Now we're a little bit smarter than back then, but it was really the interest of building something good, being able to enable a complete industry to fulfill its potential. And this is what we currently see ourselves. We are nothing else than an enabler for the commercial drone industry to fulfill its potential and to make a safe commercial drone flight possible with our autonomous parachute solutions. And that was very interesting, and as well of working on a common goal together and learn different kind of things. Because when you start out, you're not just focusing on one thing. I'm the CEO. Nice, it looks good on the business card, but it's not more at the beginning. You have to do so many different kind of things, and if you don't know what to do, you just learn it. Maybe you do a good job, maybe you don't do a good job, but at least if you've done it, you learn from it and say, okay, I know what to do next time. And that was something that I was really interested in, and fortunate to get the opportunity.
So what year was it when you jumped into drone rescue systems?
2015, I think.
Wow. Okay. So I'm just thinking back, in the United States, that was 1 year before our Part 107 was published. And I
Yeah.
feel like in Europe, maybe around the same track for EASA and some of
Much
the
worse.
early drone. Was it before the
Much
early drone
worse.
regulations?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was really early to do something like that.
And so the parachute solution that your company focuses on, number one, it was early, right? Number two, it's kind of different from some of the other solutions we're seeing out there. Can you explain kind of the difference and how that also kind of intrigued you into wanting to be a part of this business?
Yeah, of course. We made ourselves the life quite hard because we didn't just want to have a parachute solution for customers. We thought about what is beneficial to the customers and build the product from there. So we thought about, okay, the system should be as light as possible. Okay, now what can we do regarding mechanism? The system needs to be smart. The system needs to be redundant or autonomously working. So we always thought about a couple of steps forward where we knew it's quite hard to sell the units right now, but this will be the right path to go in the next couple of years. And when we look where we are standing right now, we have the most established parachute solution with the most USPs on the market, and we win I would say, some of the most interesting customers or drone stakeholders are our partners. That is because we all thought about a couple of steps further, and that was really interesting to challenge ourselves with that, because you have so many different kind of obstacles. If you work in a hardware startup, it's not just developing good things, but we have mechanical aspects, software aspects, hardware aspects, legal aspects with IPs, financial aspects, manufacturing. So all kind of challenges, and we have to address them all. And that was really exciting, and we just wanted to know if we are able to do that. And if so, if we're able to do that, how can we support our customer base the best way around? And this is what makes us really proud, that we have now a feedback of having really good customer service. And this is something where I'm focusing on very heavily currently, for example.
Yeah, and not just in Europe. I mean, internationally, right? So, your systems, from 2016 when you started till now have really kind of spread everywhere. So can you give us a couple examples? And then I want to talk about this really prestigious award that you won. So tell us about kind of where you're at right now and internationally. And along with that, I know this is a compound question, right? I'm violating the rule of lawyers. Do not ask a compound question. I want to know where you're at. And I want to know secondarily, what are the kind of unique challenges in working internationally?
We are right now. We definitely established ourselves as the leading drone parachute manufacturer in the world, especially for the weight category that we are in. The big benefit that we have is that we are having the lightest solution, because we don't use any kind of pyrotechnical approaches or spring approach that provides with a lot of advantages. And that's why we have really changed our customer focus in the last couple of years. 2 years ago, maybe pre-COVID, we were mainly working with lidar companies together. Now we are in in a lot of different kind of drone delivery projects involved. We are
Mm.
heavily involved in first response projects or companies in general. So we really shifted our focus, maybe even away from the classical, okay, let's put a parachute solution, a DJI solution, more to, okay, let's work with a very interesting manufacturer together, like What's Innovation, like Free Flow Systems or other companies like that, and try to help them and their customers to protect bison as a ground and expensive equipment and to do proper missions. And there we definitely established ourselves as the leading company in the field in the last couple of years. And especially last one and a half years were really amazing. And regarding the international point of view, we now build up our first office in United States, in New Jersey. So we have
Well, I'm from
we
Philadelphia, so like Jersey
okay,
and Philly, we're just like brothers and sisters.
got
It's
it,
kind of a local joke where if you're from Philly and someone says, "Hey, I'm from Jersey," you say, "What exit?" And that means like on the turnpike.
got it,
So,
yeah.
like, yeah, I've got a lot of buddies in Jersey. And where in Jersey is your office?
We're just looking for a new office currently.
Okay.
Right now, it's really basic with the team member that we're having at his space. We have an additional office, but we are looking now for a bigger office. We're looking around because we want to have further staff members there and want to see what is the best way regarding the maybe even to do some showcases with parachute solutions. So we are really looking for a bigger and better option. So if somebody knows it, call me.
I was going to say, we need to talk offline because I think I
Yeah,
can help you there. And oh, by the way,
good.
we've got two other fans out there saying good morning and hello. Chris
Hello.
Wedgeworth and Paul Gentile from Cam Flight is here as well. So thank you, gentlemen, for jumping in the chat. We appreciate you. Chris is like a super fan regular, so he's always jumping in the chat, and it's amazing. So well, that's so exciting. And along the way, I imagine it's challenging even in Europe, Andres, because like unlike the United States, well, we have different cultures. I mean, you go from Jersey to Alabama, it's almost like being in two different countries, but it's
Mhm.
technically not. Like in Europe, it literally is.
Yeah.
And and then not only leaving the continent, but coming to the United States. I'm going to kind of re-ask you because it's my fault. I asked the compound version of this before. What kind of the unique challenges then? Kind of working internationally. You had a lot of successes, but I imagine it wasn't super easy to attain the level of success that you have at this point.
Um, it's definitely, I would say, the most challenging thing because from personal point of view, I have to reschedule my day.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes, I know.
so heavily because
I was like texting him and I'm like, oh God, what time is it in Austria right now? It's probably like 3 in the morning. Yeah.
yeah, and but that's normally when I'm often awake even. So it's not the best thing, maybe the healthiest thing, but I have to. It provided me with additional advantage. So now, for example, I had to reschedule my day where I said, okay, you know what? I'm coming back much earlier to play with my daughter, bring it to bed, and then after those three hours together with the family, I'm back on the desk again and having my calls with US-based customers. So it's definitely a big challenge, but a big opportunity for me as well. So we have it's not around about 100% export because Austria is not really our market. We are selling here units, but it's a really small country. But America is definitely our biggest market, and we are heading more to the Indian market as well, and to the Asian market as well. So it's definitely challenging because on the one hand, when you're small, you try to do the things on your own, but when you
Yep.
get bigger, you need to find good strategic partners, and that is really tough. If
Yeah.
you look for good strategic partners where you know, okay, you can trust them, they don't sell anything that you don't want people to get sold. So we're quite honest when we can do something, we say it. When we can't do something, we are honest. Say, okay, these are the options. Is one of the options working for you? But the most challenging thing is definitely to schedule the day from a personal level, from a business level, it is that the customer still feels very good supported.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important that we have some local people that we work together and are heavily involved with drone rescue systems, because that really helps us to say, okay, you have an urgent request, we will definitely help you out. And we're not saying, okay, let's call in 5 days. That's not how we
Yeah.
work.
Right, right.
Um,
Or even 12 hours or whatever, the time difference
yeah,
happens to be. It's so silly, but time difference can be such a killer. Even,
yeah.
I find traveling from Colorado where I am to the East Coast, I mean that's going to take me a full day with the 2 hour time difference on the way to, I usually have to have a layover, you know. And so, we're talking 2 full days on either end, even if it's a 1 day event out of my office. So, something as simple as time differences can make such a huge, and then add the language issues and all of these other things. Running an international business, I imagine, is very, kind of unique and challenging. So you started basically with you, and I think Mark, is that his name? Mark?
Marcus, yeah.
Yeah, back in 2016. How many people are part of your team now?
We grew quite a bit. Just in development alone, we've run about 10 people. And apart from that, we have salespeople. We're doing the manufacturing as well. So we're constantly growing, and we plan to have at least 10 further new team members within the next six to 7 months. So it's quite challenging.
Wow. Wow, really
We
ramping up then,
Yeah,
considering you're
we need
like
to do it.
bottom line is you plan to double your staff because
Yeah.
it's going so well. In fact, it's going so well. We have an amazing picture of you receiving this award for the European space industry. Tell us a little bit about that. And who is in the picture with you? I know we haven't seen heads yet. Here we go.
That's the smart one in the company. That's Marcus. That's my business
Okay, very
partner.
good.
He's our CTO, and we won there the award from the European Space Agency, basically the European version of the NASA, where we worked on a very interesting project with a satellite-navigated guided parachute solution back in the day. So it was
Wow.
basically the first really big award that we received as a company, and really helped us to establish ourselves as well. Because if you win such an award, this award is called European Satellite Navigation Competition Award. Then it definitely shows you, okay, if specific companies or specific institutions are trusting you, then you have the quality that is needed to be involved in very interesting projects. So that was definitely a big milestone for us.
It is a big milestone, and that's something I would also kind of echo to everybody out there watching is, it sounds so simple, but winning an award can really propel you personally or your company. Andreas is a perfect example of that, and how it helped drone rescue systems kind of establish a deep foothold in the European, kind of aerospace and defense sector. For me, it was the Women in Drones, Women to Watch Award.
Mhm.
When I want, and that's coming up, by the way, everybody, big celebration in January so what I would say to you is, if you don't have a boss that's going to nominate you, nominate yourself for these things. Don't be shy. Like, sometimes you have to toot your own horn, just do it. Because it can really be life changing, and for a business, a really radical pivot point for the trajectory of that company. But besides winning awards and doing great things, establishing a U.S. presence, you mentioned your family. You're going to talk about that a little bit. You've got a wife, you've got a little daughter. How old is she
Yeah.
now? 6, 7 months? 8?
No, 2 years. But then
Two
second
years. Oh,
daughter will be born in next between 2 and 4 weeks. So
2 years and
next
one
one is
on the
already coming.
way. 2 years and
Yeah.
one on the way. I imagine, and I remember this time, of course, I wasn't an entrepreneur at the time when I was having my kids. Balance is a tough thing.
Yeah.
And, it's something I like talking about with my guests because I feel like that's something everybody can learn from. And so I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody is basically, how do you maintain your well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? Because what I find is so many people neglect one or more of those pillars, shall we say.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to have balance when you're hard charging, when you're running a cutting edge international hardware company.
It's definitely challenging. What I had to learn is to have basically a strict routine and a discipline to follow it. I'm not mastering it in all aspects in life. A couple of years ago I was very sportive. Now there's more of me, but I'm getting back on track. But for me, it's really about having the discipline to focus on what is important to you. And for me, it's really important. I don't want to be a father, for example, that shows a picture on the airport that says, that is my daughter, I think 3, 4 months ago. No, I want to be in her daily life. I want to, if she's feeling bad, I want that she's coming to me and say, give me your time. And she's always the priority first. And I really had to change it a little bit because I was always so ambitious. And my wife is successful as well. And due to that, I always had the possibility to work long hours and to be heavily involved in the company. But when my daughter was born, everything changed because it is important to be a good father and a good husband as well. But apart from that, you still want to grow as a person on different kind of levels. So for me, I mentioned the Kindle or YouTube. There is not one day where I don't spend at least 1 hour trying to learn or listen to new things. Or Audible. I use audiobooks heavily. And that really helps me to try to grow, try to see different kind of perspectives, and not just focusing on, okay, let's change the next diaper or let's do the next deal with my company. But
Right,
also,
right.
okay, what is the long-term view that I'm wanting to have a company going? What's a long-term plan with my family and the combination of my company together? So for me, the routine is key for everything.
Well, and also having fun. So we have a great
Yeah.
picture of you that we're going to show now. You are swimming with orcas. I mean, holy shnikes. Tell us about this one because I think you said diving was one of your hobbies.
Yeah. Diving is one of my hobbies. I'm even a diving instructor, a trained one. And for me, diving was always that I'm diving since I'm a child. And for me, one of the biggest dreams was always to swim and dive with orcas. And there I had the opportunity, I think it was 2019, if I remember correctly, to do that in Norway. And it was just unbelievable because
Wow.
orcas were for me always the most exciting animals. They're smart, they're social, they're powerful, they're elegant. Um, they 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 are just incredible creatures, and to be able to be in a free water with them together, that was just incredible.
That is incredible. Of course, they're also called killer whales, and that makes me personally nervous. Like my husband's like, let's go on a safari. I'm like, no, I don't want to be around animals that could like eat me. Like I'm good, like I'll swim with the dolphins, but I'm not sure about the orcas, right? The killer whales. All right, I cannot believe we are like 1 minute out, Andreas. The time has flown. So what I want to do is go ahead and hit our lightning round because we do this with everybody. I know you've got a couple favorite books, but I'm going to ask you 3 questions now, and they're pretty
Yeah.
quick. Okay. So number one, your favorite book.
Stephen R. Covey, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Just love it.
It is a great one. Okay.
Yeah.
Your hero.
My grandmother and my parents.
Very nice, very nice. You heard about your parents earlier, and so that doesn't surprise me. Didn't hear a lot about your grandma, but she obviously raised one of your parents, so she's got to be good people, right? And
Yeah, she
last
was
but
amazing.
actually, my grandmother was like, she's my guardian angel. She's my favorite, honestly. And then one thing you want to leave with others, like one leadership tip that you learned along the way that you would like to leave with others.
I would say a long-term vision is worth all the struggles. Just put in one more effort in it. If you think about quitting, one more iteration with the product, one more phone call, whatever it is, just put in one more, and then the struggles you see are right now are worth all the possibilities in a later stage.
Well, that's awesome. It's a great note to end on. And everybody, Andres, how can everybody reach you?
DroneRescue.com is our main domain, but we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, at DroneRescueSystems.com, and myself, I'm heavily involved in LinkedIn as well. And of course, we're at a lot of different kind of exhibitions and always here to support.
Well, thank you again. And now you all have heard a little bit about the man behind the company that is Drone Rescue Systems, and really appreciate you taking this time to share with us your journey and how it brought you to Drone Rescue Systems. And thank you for everything you're doing for the industry, especially for safety. So that's all she wrote for today. Thank you, everybody. We're out here.